everyone, and welcome to 1923 Main Street, where pavement, powder, and perfect swells combine with travel style every week. I am your host, Mike Belobradic, and today, let's talk about snowboarding t-shirts, hoodies, and sweatshirts, the cultural roots, and what makes snowboarding apparel stand out today. You know, snowboarding's more about carving down scenic slopes covered in fresh powder, or, depending on where you live, it could be a hard-packed corduroy groom, if that's your area, as unfortunately it is in ours mostly. But snowboarding's a culture with its own unique personality and art and lifestyle. Everything from bold graphics on tees and hoodies to perfect layering, cozy sweatshirts for après riding, and the right apparel really communicates who you are both on and off the mountain. A lot of this goes back to the origins and cultural roots of snowboarding. Now, we did a story on this. I did a podcast and a blog post on the once an outlaw history of snowboarding, so I'll put a link to that in this blog post on the website if you want to read that. But high level, snowboarding first emerged in the 70s really as a DIY evolution of surfing and skateboarding. Early riders used modified boards of all kinds and even some sort of creative wooden planks to carve out a new ride on the mountain. But in the 80s and 90s, snowboarding really came into its own as a mainstream winter sport, and with it came its own apparel identity. Early snowboard graphics, they leaned into what you might expect. Frost, adrenaline, a little bit of attitude mixed in, and everything from alpine landscapes and urban influences to more bold messaging and typography, let's say, and even abstract art that was inspired by street graffiti. Today, snowboarding graphic t-shirts are still ground in that original style, while hoodies and sweatshirts complete the layered approach needed for the mountain environment and other times in cool climates. So what makes snowboarding apparel stand out? Compared to skateboarding and surfing t-shirt design, how does snowboard style differ? Or does it differ? Well, it does a little bit, and let's talk about the graphics for starters. Snowboarding t-shirt graphic style today is really built on those themes from the past, but more modernized, which makes a lot of sense, and of course, often with a corporate branding twist as commercialization took hold of the industry, which gave us some of the great tech in boards, boots, bindings, and everything else that we have today. So snowboarding designs today, you're still going to see alpine lines, mountain silhouettes, distinctive brand icons for all the brands, including our own, and some attitude, along with symmetrical layouts that echo snowboard symmetry. These visuals aren't just patterns, they're expressions of the terrain, the momentum, and the rider spirit that exists in all of us. When it comes to color palettes, it's no surprise that much of the snowboard apparel we see lives in the winter palettes. Chalk white, ice blue, even forest green and slate grays, and when there are pops of bright color, they're usually against a dark contrast, because the right color mix can make your gear visible on the slopes and still stylish in the lodge after. Men's and women's snowboarding apparel design, there are some slight nuances particularly in the t-shirt styles for men and women, but there's a lot of unisex as well, probably mostly unisex. When it comes to men's styles, they tend to be roomier cuts for layered movement, graphic focus on alpine energy and adventure, sometimes a little more bold or even brazen, and the hoodies are sized for layering over tees and thermal tops. On the women's style, which is really where it's a little bit more unique, they are tailored cuts that move with the body, graphic layouts that balance that boldness with more style and often elegance and grace, and we like to do a few of those ourselves, and sweatshirts and hoodies sized for layering and après comfort. We design our women's snowboard apparel to be both wear-ready but also personally expressive, because mountain style really should feel good and look great no matter where you are. Let's give a few little fun facts about snowboarding apparel. Snowboard graphics took their cues from skate culture. Especially the early graphics, they blended street art from skate style with mountain imagery from snowboarding, and I really love that collision of worlds in the graphic style of a lot of snowboard apparel. Then, as the tech moved in I talked about earlier, modern snow gear balances the warmth and freedom of movement, which is always welcome, but also incorporates classic graphics to keep the soul of snowboarding alive, even when we're talking about more tech style of clothing. And then art on the mountain, t-shirts and hoodies often become collectible pieces. I mean, riders keep old favorites as reminders of epic seasons or specific times when they began snowboarding or had a great year. And I really like how art on a t-shirt can become very meaningful to our lives as that favorite old shirt that we have from a specific period and try to baby it for as long as we can. So, whether you're looking for a graphic tee to wear under a shell or cozying up in a sweatshirt, or you're rocking your favorite bold hoodie on the deck of a lodge, snowboarding apparel has such a cultural history that we keep alive to this very day, and we know you all love to really find designs that speak to you. So there we go, just a little bit about the cultural roots of snowboard style. And I've done a couple of recent discussions in this podcast and blog posts about surfing and skateboarding, and they all have their unique twist, but they all have a very similar origin story. All right, everyone, thanks as always for listening. Follow along on social media at 1923 Main Street. We love seeing you there. Visit the shop at 1923mainstreet.com. I will see you again next week, and as always, roam freely and ride boldly.